Hello, and welcome to Torch and Key Divine Messages. I am Morgan, your Divine Messenger, and today I'm going to talk about how to become the hero of your own story. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are probably wondering what this has to do with magic or witchcraft or tarot, but trust me, it is everything. I studied storycraft before I came into the witchcraft world, but it has been incredible how often I have needed that understanding to help me through my spiritual awakening journey. One of the biggest ones that I have discovered recently is about reframing and restructuring your perspective of you, your life, and your role within your life and within the world. So I like to think of it as understanding that you are the main character. And I'm sure you've seen affirmations about this everywhere, like you're the main character, or, all this stuff. You're the hero, you're the knight in shining armor, or you're the princess, you're center stage. But have you really ever put that into practice and really thought about it? Because I feel like that's where the magic is. And you can see it not only in your mundane life on a surface level, but you can see it from a spiritual perspective. Because in my eyes, the universe is the best author of all time. Think of all the stories that if you actually tried to make them into a fiction novel, they would be considered like too fantastical, but they're real life. So that's kind of how I like to look at everyone's stories. Your life is the story that will be passed down to your children and your grandchildren, or will be passed down through history books, or will help inform somebody else's story. There's no story lives in a bubble, and all of the best authors know that even the extras are important, and they're not extra, they're just the main characters of a story that that author wasn't writing. So you need to start treating yourself as that main character. And the first way to do it is to look at the beginning. Now, every single author understands that when they sit down to write their story, there needs to be a proper start. And in order to understand the proper start, usually most authors will come up with the backstory, which is the before, your prequels, your prologues, even just maybe something that never gets put to paper for people to read, but the author knows what happened before their story began. Even if they start at the beginning of all things, there is still a before your main character existed. But what I want you to do today that's going to be important for you moving forward is to look at this moment as the start of your story, the start of you understanding that there is more to your life than you have given so far. Because if you're here and you're wanting to reframe your story, you're wanting to rewrite your story, you're wanting to see yourself as the hero, as the main character, as no longer playing the victim or the extra, then it's because up until this point you feel like you haven't done that, okay? And that's fair, maybe you haven't done that starring role that you felt like you've played, even if you did without realizing. It all matters about the perspective of the main character, right? Even if the main character was a wizard their whole life, maybe being a wizard is normal to them. And the whole point of a story is the moment where the normal has to change, where the main character leaves their comfort zone for the grand adventure beyond, because they know that it's their purpose. They know that they don't have a choice, that there is no going back. They understand that there is something beyond what they've been doing so far, and that if they don't step into this new role, that they're going to have to continue the boring normal for the rest of their life. So with all main characters, the choice is always yes. I do choose to go on this adventure. Willingly or not, they do choose to go. And I want you to choose to go on this new adventure of being the hero of your story and no longer believing that everything is happening to you. Because that's the thing about being a main character, is even in the most tragic of stories, the main characters have growth, have challenges that they overcome or that they learn to adapt to. The entire story is centered around that person and about trying to show who that person was and how they lived their life. So if you want your story to be a good one, in your eyes and your perspective, you need to not look at your life as what is happening to you or at you. It is what is happening for you. Even in the darkest times in books, it is happening for that main character to show that they can overcome those obstacles, that they can overcome those challenges, that they can become stronger, that they can be the hero. And there definitely are a lot of stories about villains as the main character or anti-heroes, things of those nature, and those exist in real life as well. But this is all about what you want your story to be. So if you want to be an anti-hero or a villain, I mean, I'm not gonna support that, but up to you and your preference. But if you're wanting to be the hero, if you're wanting to finally step forward into your purpose, into your magic, into making it all for you and not at you or to you, no longer playing the victim, then this is how you're going to do it. You're going to reframe how you looked at your life thus far. You're going to look at the before, because this is the moment. This is the catalyst. This is the sign. This is the message that the hero receives. This is the sword in the stone moment, and you need to pull that sword out and choose to go forward into that grand new adventure. And think of your past as the backstory that informs your character. Now, every main character has some sort of darkness, and in astrology, that would be called your Chiron or your wounded healer. It is known as kind of your Achilles heel, your tragic backstory, if you will. The thing that happened to you in childhood or in the before, okay? So Chiron in your chart is going to inform the energy of your tragic backstory, of that conflict that you're constantly overcoming, the overarching theme of your suffering that you've had to heal from, okay? So, for instance, let's talk about Harry Potter. It's very easy to use in this case, especially with the magic part, because I feel like a lot of us can relate to that. Not that, the author isn't, super messy and toxic, but, different subject. Anyway, the story itself is important because in Harry's before, he loses his parents tragically and has to live with family that doesn't like him. He is treated terribly. He's hidden in a closet under the stairs, given all of the worst items of the household, constantly insulted and treated terribly, right? That's his before. That would be your Chiron. That would be your wounded healer, because when he grows older, He becomes somebody who sees the downtrodden, sees the people who are bullied, sees the people who are left to the wayside, and he befriends them because he understands their pain. Think of his friendship with Luna Lovegood, with Neville, even with Ron versus Draco. He chooses those things because he had a childhood where he was mistreated and he always wished he had somebody to stick up for him. And he never did. So that is also another thing. If you feel like your whole life you never really got the help that you deserved, it is because you are the hero, not anyone else. They're not coming to save you. You're not the damsel in distress. You're not the victim in the village. You're not the extra who cries for help so Superman can show up. You are Superman. You are the knight in shining armor. You are the badass warrior queen. You are Harry Potter. You are the Avengers. All of them. You are the hero. So you need to stop looking at your life as woe is me, or all these terrible things happen to me, or things are so hard, and start thinking, okay, if I'm the hero, how am I going to change my life? How am I going to start taking responsibility? How am I going to overcome these obstacles and these challenges? Like, really think, like, if nobody is coming to save you, how are you going to save yourself? And it's the same with Harry. He had so much love and support, but when it came down to it, a lot of the most pivotal moments in the battle, he was by himself and he had to make decisions. Whether they were good decisions, you know, so much stress reading some of those books. Like, Harry, what you doing, boy? Anyway, you know, you're allowed to make mistakes even when you're the hero because that's how you learn. And so when you restructure the perspective to centering yourself as I'm a hero, I'm a main character, and everything that has happened to me thus far has been character development, has been backstory, has been to inform who I am as a person, but also to inform what I need to learn and what lessons I need to go through, as well as what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are. And you can see all of this in your astrology chart. But I also notice that in the tarot, they also kind of guide you on your story journey as well. So that's why I like to use both. I don't like to use either one of them isolated. I feel like whatever magic tools you have at your disposal, you shouldn't pigeonhole yourself into only one, because that makes you limit your magic, that limits your perspective. So with all of this, it's to say that if you're the hero, stop playing the victim. And if you're the main character, then everything that has led up so far and everything that will happen from here on is for you. For you. So here's how I was able to restructure my life. My restructuring was that the timing was always off. It really was. Every time that I needed help, especially financially, it was like everyone else's problems were always worse than mine. And so I was never able to really have their help. Honestly, it was always me helping other people, because I was always, even in my worst moments, it always felt like other people were having even a worse time than I was. And maybe that's true, or maybe it was just I didn't want to be a burden, and I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that. But that was how I always saw things, was, oh, it sucks, like nobody can ever grant me the sympathy or the healing that I need. Nobody can grant me the money that I need. Nobody can grant me the job that I need. And there were plenty of times where I was constantly between a rock and a hard place, and I had to get out myself. I had to do a lot of it myself. But just like Harry, I did also have a lot of help at random moments. It was never the moments that would have healed everything, but they were always just the right crucial moments to help me be able to take care of myself, if that makes sense. But I grew up with the mindset of trying my hardest not to be a burden on anyone because of this, and to want to be strong and to take care of myself properly. But there was also always a burning passion to do what I love, which has always been creative self-expression. And I wanted to make sure that that was the thing that I was doing. I wanted to make sure that I was happy. So I constantly had to balance between wanting that independence and having to rely on people. And I finally took coaching, took a coaching course with this wonderful woman, Amy Wingreen, and she asked me a very crucial question. And I don't know if this is something that she came up with or if it's part of their, like, what they learned to question, but it blew my mind because all of a sudden everything fell into place. She asked me, how was it perfect for you, your life this far? And I had always understood that the idea of things happening for me, if that makes sense. I knew that phrase, that things happen for me, or look at how it could work with you and with your energy instead of against you. I had already had that sort of programmed in. But when she said perfect for you, like not just even optimistic, trying to make this work for me, but could be better. No, how was it perfect? And my entire goal the whole coaching session was to remove any limiting beliefs that prevented me from being self-sufficient. And looking back at my life, every lesson, every challenge, even every benefit, all led to me learning to be independent and enjoying independence to the point where it's now a goal of mine. And I even had to question it too, because I was like, do I only want to be self-sufficient because it means that I wouldn't be a burden to other people? Or is it because I actually enjoy being self-sufficient? So when she said that, when she said, how was it perfect for you? I had to stop and realize that, I wasn't a victim. No matter how terrible things got in my life, all of them were the universe funneling me towards my strength, funneling me towards my love, funneling me towards my soul. And though we all start here in our purest forms, it's not necessarily that we want to completely go back to what our purest form is. I do believe we want to get as close as we can, but I don't think that means that we're supposed to completely negate and get rid of the lessons and growth that our soul has gained thus far, even if it means we were in a toxic situation or an abusive situation. Not saying that these are, ooh, yes, that was great, have fun. No, I'm just saying that our souls sometimes actually no, all the time, always, have to go through some kind of great darkness in order to learn. And when you look at it from the perspective of a story, the main characters that stick with us, the ones that become heroes, the ones that we admire, have gone through the same. They went through something dark, something tragic, something that hurt them, and they overcame it. And they moved forward, even if it was hard, even if they cried, even if they made mistakes, even if they were flawed, especially if they were flawed. We rooted for them because they never gave up. And they, instead of falling into the pit of despair for forever, because they do have that moment where they do fall into the pit of despair, we all do, they eventually climb back out of it. And we appreciate the stories where they do it alone, not the ones where, someone drags them out. And so that's where you need to look at your life and think, okay, how can I crawl out of this pit? And man, so many pits I've had to crawl out of. And most of them made by myself, but it doesn't matter who makes them. It really doesn't. And it doesn't matter where they were made or how long you stay down there, as long as you crawl back out and you save yourself. Because to be a hero isn't only to save other people. It is to save yourself, to see your life from the perspective of, I don't need to be saved. I don't need somebody else to see my potential. I don't need anyone else to see my magic. I don't need anyone else to see the love I have in my heart. I need to see it first. And then if they see it too, then that's just a beautiful bonus. So I'm going to be making a lot of these talking about storytelling and in relation to my witchcraft and my tarot and astrology, because the way that I look at all of it is through the eyes of a story. And when you start to see it, it becomes such medicine, such catharsis, such healing when you understand that it's just a story. You are a story. You are the main character and the hero of your story. And every main character, every hero, the best stories anyway, they do get a mentor. They do get a guide. And does that guide usually eventually go, okay, kick you out of the nest, go on, fly, baby bird? Yes. You can see that in Star Wars with both Anakin and with Luke having oh my god, why can't I remember his name? What's his name? Obi Wan. Wow, that took me way too long to remember. Anyway, so Luke and Anakin had Obi Wan. Obi Wan has Qui-Gon, and Harry has Dumbledore, and even technically he has Lupin. Most of the adults in that series kind of become mentors to him, but the whole point is that you are allowed to have guides, you are allowed to have mentors, you're allowed to have advisors, you're allowed to have people you look up to. It doesn't make you any less of a hero to get help, but you're not supposed to 100% rely on these other people. When it comes to the most important decisions, those will be up to you. They can give you all the advice that they have, but in the end, it is your choice and your responsibility to make that choice. And the consequences of your choice, also your responsibility, nobody else's. Even if you take advice from somebody and they tell you to go left, so you go left, still your fault if it's the wrong direction because you decided to trust that person, right? And this is not to say you should ever blame yourself for anything. It's not about that. We're trying to remove the pity party from your perspective so as to empower you into the hero that you're meant to be. So you have to look at your life as, okay, those were a series of events and people and heartbreaks and laughter and weirdness or boredom that led you to here, to this moment, to the beginning of your true story, when, that letter comes in the mail telling you that you have been invited to be a student at Hogwarts, when a robot rolls up to your house and has a transmission from Princess Leia, when a wizard tells you that you need to take your ring to a mountain. There's always like that catalyst moment, that choice, where you have to say, am I going to continue being in my comfort zone, living my old truth that has not brought me the satisfaction I have wanted so far? Or am I going to go on that adventure and be the hero that I've always wanted to be? Am I going to let my life thus far rule me? Or am I going to take the pen and write it myself? Take the pen, take the sword from the stone, take that letter and go to Hogwarts. And if you need guidance, if you need that mentor, that's what I'm here for. I will be your Obi Wan. I'll be your Dumbledore. I'll be your Lupin. And together we will rewrite your story. And if you don't need that mentor, if you really want to lone wolf it, I believe in you. You can do it. I'm just the person that, I have a map. I've been through it myself. And if you would like a map, that's what I am here for. So I hope that this made sense. And like I said, I'm going to continue talking about story magic and how you can weave it into the life of your choosing and how you can use it to have an intentional and intuition-filled life where you follow your purpose and you follow your soul's directions instead of the directions of your prologue. Let's live a new story, okay? So I'm wishing you all happy adventures today and a journey full of so much growth that you become the next epic.